All right, I'm here at Walker Stalker Con with Jay. Jay, how do you say your last name?
Bonansinga.
Bonansinga?
Yes, well said.
Jay Bonansinga, and what nationality is that?
It's Italian. It's Sicilian, actually.
Sicilian,
Originally it was Bonansinga.
Bonansinga.
Right, right, nice.
Oh, very good, very good. So listen, Jay, you are the author of
Yes.
The Walking Dead novels.
I should say co-author, although I do all the heavy lifting of these books.
All right, well, tell
Robert,
how did this come
Robert's the first to admit it. It is kind of interesting how it came about. Robert Kirkman, who is the creator of The Walking Dead, he created the comic book. He's the mad scientist who created this whole thing, the reason we're all here. He was a huge fan of Romero's too. We'll talk about that probably in a second.
Yeah.
But he wanted to explore his world that he created, his mythology that he created in a comic book, which is closer to a film, you know.
Yes.
He wanted to explore it in prose, in a novel, and he was looking for a novelist to work with him that he could just give an outline to, almost like just a bullet point outline, and that novelist could just take it and run with it, and that was me. I feel like I've been working my whole career to get this gig. This is the greatest gig I've ever had, and I think one of the things that I said to him when I was vying to get the job with like 4 or 5 other authors was, I worked with Romero. I know this genre. I live and eat and breathe zombies.
Oh, nice, nice.
And that might have pushed him over the edge of hiring me, But it's been an amazing collaboration with me and Robert. And he's the first to admit that I take his outline and I just embellish and expand and just riff on his outline to the point now where he's giving me the keys to the kingdom. I come up with the ideas, I run them by him, he approves them, and I write the novel.
So how many novels do you have?
I'm working on number 6.
Number 6.
Yeah.
And where can they be purchased?
They can be purchased in all finer bookstores. They can be purchased online, obviously, at Amazon. You can go to my site, www.jbonansinga.com, have links to them. They're all over the place. They're at the airport in this town.
Nice. Now, Jay, you mentioned George A. Romero.
Yes.
How did that relationship start?
That relationship started on my first book when I was a green, young, untested writer, and I sold my first novel, which was called The Black Mariah. And it was, I'm still proud of that novel to this day. It's still available on Kindle and digitally. And it was a horror novel. It wasn't about zombies, but George resonated with it. New Line Cinema picked it up. It was about 2 itinerant truck drivers who are infected with this curse that stops them, that prevents them from coming to a stop. And if once they're infected with this curse, they try to stop and they get violently ill. And if they stay motionless, they burst into flames and die. And so it was this story that was a metaphor for something, And it was an African American truck driver and a Jewish woman, and they were in love. So it had a lot of ingredients that I've always thought George has in his work, which is like an underlying message, a theme, a subtext, and it has to do with human beings and working together to accomplish something. And I think that's what Robert Kirkman took and ran with.
Now, how did you meet George?
He was sent my book, The Black Mariah, by New Line Cinema. New Line thought George Romero would be the perfect director for this book. And I heard they were doing that, and I, about blacked out. I was so crazy with excitement, and I'm like, George Romero, he's my hero. I think I freaked out George when I was working with him, because I knew everything about him. I knew what day he quit smoking, and I knew about his lucky scarf, and I knew all these. I was like a super geek. George looks at his producer Peter Grunwald like, who is this kid? But no, he was fantastic. George is the sweetest person. He signed on to direct this book, and we worked on it for months. I went to his home. I flew to Florida, and I landed, I remember, on a Sunday night, and this big burly guy with a beard walks down the airport, tarmac, to pick me up, and he wants to carry my suitcase. I'm like, George Romero carrying my suitcase? No way. No, I'm sorry.
Right.
But he's just the coolest
amazing.
guy.
He was amazing to work with.
How did you? How was he?
I auditioned.
On
I
Land of the
auditioned
Dead?
for it. He was great.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, he gave you creative leeway.
Yes.
If he didn't like it, you knew it.
Right.
And he didn't really say much. You just knew by his expression.
Right.
Not that.
Right. Yeah. That's
no,
cool.
He was amazing.
That's a good director.
Yes.
A director that gives you like a sandbox to play.
And an amazing gentleman too. Amazing man. Very generous. Extremely generous.
He and Chris are sort of like old hippies. They're from the '60s.
Yes.
They believe in those concepts of the '60s.
Well, Jay, listen. I wanna congratulate you on all your success. I just want to say there's this black guy who would love it on one of these movies. Just don't forget about him. You know who I'm talking about, right? Don't forget about him.
Dude, I am like a huge fan of yours.
Okay, brother.
I have been.
Okay, brother.
I told my kids, like, this is the scariest zombie ever. Because he was like learning, and he was revealing this new, era, this new phase.
Right.
Of the zombie horde. There was a learning process going on, and you were a leader.
Thank you.
I mean, that was so fascinating. I still, to this day, show that film to people, and I'm like, check out this guy. He's super cool.
Well, you're so
I was last night at dinner, I was saying, you are, for me, you're in the category of great actors like Lon Chaney.
Whoa.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm on screen with you.
And I didn't pay
Although
him.
I'm not above blowing smoke.
The check. I'll send a check. Okay, I'll send a check. Listen, Jay, thank you very much. Now, you were saying that she was the model?
Yes. Yeah. Jilly, come
Jilly.
in. Jilly. This
is
is
Jilly.
the great Jill Norton.
Hello, Jill.
Hi.
Professional photographer and my lovely wife. I almost subconsciously started to imbue my epic hero. I call her my epic hero. I mean, Robert created her in the comic, Lily. She didn't even have a last name. And I now have been given Lily I've been given a gift. I've been given Lily to be my hero, and Lily has become, a simulacrum of Jill. She has the ripped jeans and the funky thrift shop clothes and the piercings and tats and stuff. I mean, she's like really, the model.
It was the timing of our relationship too. Our first date, this book had just come out, and he gave that to me on our first date. And then he started writing Road to Woodbury, which is the beginning of Lily. So I kind of came into the picture right when he was.
So how cool is that? On your first date, you give your woman a book to read.
A zombie book.
A zombie book. That's
true.
You know she likes you if she sells.
And he signed it and he put to the future.
Oh my
which I thought
goodness.
was pretty cocky.
It was so cool, man. I mean, like, a week later, she was visiting her family and they're having breakfast, and her brother goes, "Hey, sis, isn't that your boyfriend's book on TV that Whoopi Goldberg is holding up?" And
On The View?
On The View.
Get
holding
out
up
of
the book.
And she went, okay, maybe there might be a future to this after all.
Right.
Excellent. Now, you have any advice to young aspiring authors?
I do, actually, and I've been getting asked this question here.
Just tell them.
In Dallas. It's a great question. I do have some advice. Of course, there's a lot of advice you can give, but one of the greatest things I learned, and the advice I was given, I'll give to your viewers, which is never write to a market. Don't come to a place like this and go, well, I guess I should be writing zombie stories. Don't do that. Write what you want to read. Write for yourself. Write what you cannot find in a bookstore that you would buy, that you would love to read yourself. Tell yourself the story that you write. And you will touch others with it. I guarantee it.
Sage advice. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And thank you.
Thank you.
A pleasure.